Hello everybody, my name is Graham Elwood and you are watching The Political Vigilante. So a couple weeks ago I reported on how the OPCW, right, internal reports were leaked to WikiLeaks and showing that the supposed alleged chemical attack by Assad on his people was not accurate. Another WikiLeaks drop this past weekend confirming this and giving even more information to back this up, and yet silence from the corporate media. The corporate media is completely silent about this. Well, that's weird. The corporate media screams about we got to go to war because defense contractors, defense industry, and the oil lobby and the banks and everybody else that profits from war buys a lot of ad time. So now that there's evidence to say, hey, Brian Williams and Fareed Zakaria and all you guys lied to us. Oh, quiet. World Socialist website isn't quiet about it. New WikiLeaks documents exposes phony claims of 22 Syria chemical weapons attack. December 16th, the latest round of revelations makes clear that the U.S.-led regime change operation in Syria, which began in 2011, has been based on a pack of lies. We talked about in the other video I did last month, they claimed on April 7th that of 2018 that there was a chemical weapons attack. And the inspectors were not allowed to go there for like 2 weeks. And the United States and Britain, and I believe France, went ahead and bombed on the 14th of April. And these internal documents showed that it wasn't true. And they basically, there was a first draft of the report that said, oh, these and these reasons, and they whitewashed it. And this shows that there's even more internal emails and documents. Now I'm going to give you a link to this World Socialist website article, and in it are hyperlinks to the actual WikiLeaks, the actual documents. I'm going to show you some screen caps of some of the documents, but if you want to go through and read all of them, please do. Documents published by WikiLeaks on Saturday confirm there is significant dissent within the OPCW over the doctoring of a public report of the alleged April 7th, 2018 chemical weapons attack in Douma, Syria. The author of the memo notes that members of the FMM felt that the report did not reflect the views of the team members that deployed to Douma. They went to Douma, they did their own report, there was a first draft of it, and then they kind of got rid of it and made it seem worse because they've been pushing, we got to have war, we got to show Assad is bad, we got to show Assad is bad. Gee, it's weird, the corporate media hasn't apologized to Tulsi Gabbard for calling her an Assad apologist. That's weird. The corporate media is usually so good about correcting their mistakes. It's so, I mean, Rachel Maddow's, that's all she's been talking about, right? Oh no, she's just been Russia, 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 right? They said that the report did not reflect the views of the team members that deployed to Douma, and that only one OPCW inspector who had been in Syria, a paramedic, was ultimately involved in the production of the final report. 20 inspectors went, but they only took one from a paramedic. See this? See how ridiculous this is? They just keep lying. Julian Assange said it. If they can lie us into war, we can truth our way into peace. Do you see how this all makes sense? This is why Julian Assange is in prison. This is why Chelsea Manning is in prison. You expose the American empire's lies to get to war. Why do we want war in Syria? Well, Assad, there's a pipeline being built, or maybe already has been built, by Russia and Iran to get oil and natural gas through Syria into Western Europe, which is the biggest market for that, right? The United States and Saudi Arabia has been wanting to do this since the mid-2000s, and Assad said no. So, he becomes an evil dictator. If he was a brutal dictator that let us have this pipeline, he'd be an ally of ours. See, he's a brutal dictator, but we're allies with Saudi Arabia, who treats their women like second-class citizens and, chops up journalists. That's Saudi Arabia. That's the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who we sold, Trump sold $100 billion in weapons to them. Obama sold $113 billion in weapons. Trump tried to pull his troops out of Syria. Oh, they need to stay back there and guard the oil. And we're going to send some troops over to Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabians are too rich and privileged to defend their own country. So American working class people, not a lot of rich kids joining the military in the United States, they get over there. So explain to me why Americans are guarding Saudi Arabian oil? Why are we sending our sons and daughters to die for a royal family who tortures its own people and bombs the holy living hellfire out of Yemen, the poorest country in the world? Why are we doing this? 22 vets a day commit suicide so that Saudi Arabia and the United States empire and ExxonMobil and Boeing and Raytheon and all these people can make money? What if we stop with these ridiculous regime change wars, stop spending trillions of dollars, and spend it on our own? How are we going to pay for Medicare for all? I don't know. Stop bombing poor countries in the Middle East. There's a start. Stop having military bases all over the planet. But let's get into some of these leaked documents. So this is Fernando Arias, the Director General, right, for the organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, right? Concerns over the FFM report on Douma. This is March 14th of this year. So there was an email we talked about in the video from a couple months ago, but now there's this. These are some excerpts from it. This is what he says. The FMM report does not reflect the views of all the team members that deployed to Douma. Only one team member, a paramedic, of the so-called FMM core team was in Douma. The FFM report was written by its core team, thus by people who had only operated in country X. I'm not sure why that's what it is, but I made requests on behalf of the team members who deployed to Douma. 1, receive updates on the progress of work. 2, to be allowed to review the draft report of the FMM. Both requests were denied. So the OPCW is already, there's an internal fight here. There's like actual scientists and people on this team that care about getting it right and about what the truth is. And then there's a couple of people in there that are clearly plants for the war machine and the empire to like, hey, the report needs to be a little more like this. Read the full report. It's only a couple pages long, but here's something else. In the recommendations, at the conclusion of the in-country activities in Syria, Arab Republic, the consensus of the team was that there was indications of serious inconsistencies in findings after the exclusion of all team members other than a small cadre of members who had deployed and deployed again in October of 18. The conclusion appears to have turned completely in the opposite direction. Serious inconsistencies in the findings turned completely in the opposite direction. The FFM team members find this confusing and are concerned to know how this occurred. Well, it's not confusing. They needed to manipulate your report, Fernando, so that they could justify a war. And the American people just went along with it. Friends of mine watched and said, wow, a good friend of mine who was very anti-Trump, when this bombing happened, well, he had to bomb him. And I said, why? He goes, you saw the video, he gassed the kids. So just show a video of kids coughing and say, oh, Assad did this, and everyone buys it. Nobody asks questions. The New York Times even said an alleged gas attack. Oh, that's all we need? WikiLeaks also published the first draft of the initial report. That's key. Read the first draft and then you read the second one and you see how they started to lie and doctor it, which noted that the investigators were unable to provide satisfactory explanations for the relatively moderate damage to the cylinders allegedly dropped from an unknown height compared to the destruction caused to the rebar reinforced roofs. Yeah, that was the other thing too. They had these, oh, those are the shells. They just showed us these shells. And it was like, some of them had like made in the USA on them. It was such a bad, concocted crime scene. Part of it was too, they didn't let the inspectors go in there till after we bombed it. So that's a good way to get rid of evidence of a fake gas attack. Bomb the hell out of it. And if you ask this question, you're an Assad apologist. All I'm asking, all any of us are asking, all Tulsi Gabbard has asked, all any anti-war anybody has said, why can you give us more evidence that there was a legitimate gas attack by Assad? Shut up, Assad apologist, shut up. Go back to Russia. So when people on the left say this, I ask you people on the left, so then you like war? You like that we're bombing people? You don't care if we get it right? Can we just do this with like a SWAT team coming to your house? I think my next door neighbor is a meth dealer. Okay, good enough for us. Kick down the door, shoot people, set it on fire, beat the crap, show them, and lock them up. Is that good enough? Due process, the rule of law. What was the rush to bomb? Wouldn't you want to get it absolutely right? Where are the level-headed people? They're not in the media. And Americans that just swallow, and they watch this, Americans watch this on CNN, MSNBC, Fox, ABC, and it was the same narrative. Everyone said, oh, RT, state TV. Well, whenever there's a war, American media becomes state TV. The State Department says we need this war to happen, and the corporate media says, yes, sir. You got it. Brian Williams, wax poetically these bombs. Oh, Fareed Zakaria says, Donald Trump became president today. Fareed Zakaria said that. When Donald Trump bombed a poor country, that's when he became president. Here's another email in July of 18 saying, what about then removing trace? One of the things this goes about is there was a freestanding sentence. Chlorine-containing compounds were detected. Implicit within that statement are the investigation is currently all about chlorine. Chlorine was searched for. Chlorine was found. Political media readers will not discriminate between chlorine and chlorine-containing compounds. That was the thing. I showed that in the last report. There was just some chlorine-containing compounds, and then the State Department and the media goes, oh, chlorine gas. Therefore, because they were found, they were detected. That's a conclusion. It's because the stakes are so high that we have a responsibility to guard against misrepresentation by both sides. Somebody wants to get it right within the OPCW, but the war machine and the mouthpieces for the war machine on the corporate media, they don't seem to care. We bombed civilians. Women and children died. Innocent people died. And we don't want to get it right? And I'm called an Assad apologist because I don't want to kill innocent people? Okay, does that make you sad? Does that bum you out that this is America and neoliberals, people call themselves liberal? I'm just like, so you're what? You're pro-war and pro-choice? That's what makes you liberal now? That's what the definition of liberal is? Oh, I'm for protecting LGBTQ. It's awful what Trump is doing at the border, but he can bomb poor people in the Middle East because who cares? What do you see the hypocrisy of this? If you're offended by what Trump is doing at the border, you also need to understand those cages were built by Obama and he deported 2 million people. And then, but if you don't like the treatment of human beings and children and women at the border, then how come it's okay to just bomb a country without actual facts? I mean, it's just, we live in crazy times. George W. Bush, who lied about weapons of mass destruction, now he's all cuddly with so-called liberals. But we know this is a scam. I did a video how the CIA has been working with Ellen. That's why this is how they're just manufacturing consent to get us to go along for war. It's all lies. wars are lies. They're always lies. The final redacted OPCW report omitted reservations raised by investigators that the evidence they uncovered did not comport with the video of the alleged victims foaming at the mouth, a symptom consistent with sarin gas attack and not chlorine. Chlorine gas, oh, they're foaming at the... Last week, British-based Newsweek journalist Tariq Haddad resigned in protest after the magazine editors refused to publish his report for the OPCW leaks. Yeah. When the leaks came out, where was the outrage? Nothing from the corporate media, nothing. After Haddad announced on Twitter his reasons for leaving the publication, a Newsweek spokesperson anonymously smeared the reporter. See their tactics? WikiLeaks dropped something. They pretend it didn't happen. They either don't even acknowledge it, or yeah, that's why. See how they had to make Julian Assange. Oh, he's a Russian asset. Oh, Syria is part of Russia. When we pulled our troops out of there, Russia came swarming into Syria. Yeah. They're not bombing them. Russia's not bombing Syria. We are. And further in these leaked documents, you saw how the American OPCW uncovered that America was actively working with Al-Qaeda and ISIS because they were fighting against Assad. So we spend trillions of dollars to fight Al-Qaeda on this global war on terror for the last 18 years. But when they want to actually help us depose a dictator that won't let us build a pipeline, then we're okay with them? So let me see if I got this right. When Al-Qaeda helps bomb the trade towers in New York City, they're bad. But they let us bomb a poor country so we can build a pipeline, then they're good? Do you see the bullshit of this war lie nonsense? And then this is the tactic too. Then when a guy resigns, they smear him. Twitter has these algorithms and bots and blue check people that are on the payroll to just smear people. They might not be bots, they might be actually people, but they're paid. They're paid. Those people that smear Greta, those people that go after, that called, Jeremy Corbyn and now Bernie Sanders is anti-Semitic. Really, a Jewish man whose parents died in the Holocaust is an anti-Semite. That's a new one for me. That's unbelievable. What's next? Does Nina Turner, she's probably hates black people. Is she going to be called? What's next? Major Tulsi Gabbard doesn't support the troops. This is the crazy area we're living in. Leaked documents, and the corporate media won't say a word about it. And people that watch the corporate media and believe it, they watch a show like mine and they go, well, it's YouTube. Can we trust him? Is he for real? You know why you can trust me? I'm not wearing a $3,000 suit. I'm wearing a t-shirt from a festival I helped produce that went out of business. I'm in my apartment. So that's why you can trust me. If you need a fancy suit and a big glitzy studio, that's when you know I'm paid. That's when you know I'm lying to you. When a sponsor thing comes up, this segment brought to you by Raytheon, like what you see on MSNBC, right? Shell Oil, making things better. That's when you know the person is lying. That's when you know they're compromised. I'm not compromised because you support my show. You go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood and you can donate to support my show. And I'm going to keep wearing t-shirts and looking like a surfer comedian in his apartment because I don't want to look like some three-piece suit wearing soulless, amoral, complete vapid sellout like Brian Williams or Fareed Zakaria or Rachel Maddow or Sean Hannity or any of those corporate weasel parasites that don't have the moral integrity because they make millions of dollars a year to talk about these actual leaked documents. I did not leak these documents. I'm not making this up. See it? Everyone's Russia. Everyone's anyone who threatens the powerful war machine empire is a Russian, Assad, whatever, anti-Semite, anything. They'll call you anything. They'll call you anything. If this show gets big and popular, they're going to call me whatever. Come and get it. I'm not going to wear a suit and tie. That's the costume of the ruling class. Thanks for supporting the show. Go to Patreon. Go to Rokfin.com/Graham Elwood. All my tour dates are at GrahamElwood.com. Ron Placone and I are coming to you in 2020. The Progressive Comedy Tour is coming. Join us. You come into a Progressive Comedy Tour show, you show up alone, you leave a part of a community. Go to GrahamElwood.com for all the tour dates. Thanks for watching.